I got 5:30. We're gonna call the meeting to order. 1.2, pledge of allegiance and moment of silence. Mr. Carter.
Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence.
One point three, our mission statement, Mr. Hickman.
Logan County Schools will provide quality educational programs and services to the students.
Thank you. 2.1, approval of the agenda. Everybody has it? All right. Donald in a second. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approval of minutes, 3.1, you have an attachment. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 4.1, we have 4 comments tonight, all on the same thing, curriculum policy. Dr. Tiedeman's gonna read a statement, and Mr. Rader, Stephen Rader, you're up first.
Welcome to the Beaufort County Board of Education meeting. Your presence is welcomed and encouraged by the board. We invite comments during the public comment section of the board meeting. This time is set aside for the board to hear comments on programs, policies, and procedures. The board typically will not respond to nor take any immediate action on the concerns expressed, but please be assured the board will take all comments under appropriate advisement. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, the following guidelines have been established. Persons wishing to speak should have already registered prior to the board meeting by listing their name, address, telephone number, and topic to be addressed. To maximize participation, comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Yielding time to another speaker is not permitted. A maximum of 4 speakers on one topic. The chairman will invite speakers to the podium in an order in which they are registered. Comments must be issue-oriented. Complaints against any employee will not be heard in public session. Public participation is limited to the public comment section so that the board may deliberate important decisions without distraction or interference.
Mr. Rader. And if you don't mind, before you start, tap that mic, make sure it's hot up. Yes, sir, you got a hot mic.
Thank you. When the Savas and Bridges curricula were presented to the board, a number of citizens who had concerns about the curriculum itself also had concerns about the process. Since I had dealt extensively with state government administrative procedures and rules while I served in the Jim Martin administration, I was asked to examine current policies on curriculum development and find ways to address some of the concerns identified. The general feeling was that the existing process could be made much more constructive by making it more inclusive at an earlier stage by allowing more input from the public and from the Board of Education. One of the problems is ending up at the end of the process with one choice which is controversial, and that puts you in a bind. There are 2 major areas addressed in these amendments. The first is to attempt to provide more community involvement and input at an earlier stage and in more depth. That is where the creation of the Community Standards Committee comes in. The second is to provide more opportunities for school board members to be engaged in the process and to have input other than just one up or down vote at the end of the process. It is the county school board members who are empowered by statute to select the curriculum, and the feeling is that they need to have more opportunity for involvement throughout the process. Additional board involvement includes approval of the curriculum committees after considering recommendations from the superintendent, being kept informed by periodic process of curriculum review, and being presented with more than one option to consider at the conclusion of the process. It also contemplates that the board instructing the committee on what it wants to see or not see in a particular curriculum near the beginning of the process. In addition, there are a number of specific additions. One, given the recent issues with gender theory being presented in the classroom, there is a recommendation of a specific prohibition of that. The language "I'm not teaching CRT" is also so garbled presently as to be almost meaningless. So that is now presented in a more straightforward manner. Requirements for teaching founding documents, cursive writing, and multiplication tables are covered in state law or rule, but they're added here to give particular emphasis to them in the local schools. Overall, these changes will make the process more open and transparent and inclusive of parents and the community. You may want to consider these items individually, and if so, I would suggest a procedural motion to divide the question. Thank you.
Cool. Sorry about that. Next up, Mr. Dave Hudson, curriculum policy also. All right.
Good evening. My name is Dave Hudson. I have 3 children currently attending Beaufort County Public Schools and one who recently graduated in 2021. I spoke earlier this year regarding my opposition to the adoption of the Savas Social Studies curriculum. I continue to have concerns regarding the curricula currently being taught in our schools and the process in which new curricula are chosen. These include, but are not limited to, several incidents. One of the most recent is gender theory being presented in the classroom. Another involves the approved 8th grade English curricula, which includes a book that was read aloud in class covering topics such as murder and gang rape. Cursive is required by the state, but almost every student I speak with in middle or high school says they have not been taught cursive and they are incapable of writing it. Math homework is not assigned in elementary classes because the new way of teaching math is foreign to most adults outside of the education system, and teachers don't want to confuse students if parents try to teach the old methods of answering the problems. Weekly spelling and vocabulary tests are not taking place for students after 2nd grade. All of this is alarming to me, on top of the fact that we have 6 underperforming schools in the county, something that was not the case until after 2019 and the current leadership. Having spent 14 years in the military, I was taught that anything a leader's subordinates achieved or failed to achieve was ultimately the responsibility of that leader. As I mentioned in previous public comment before this board, I am against the woke agenda currently being pushed upon our schools and the curriculum they use. This includes CRT and its other forms or names such as CRL or culturally responsive learning. This also includes Common Core and variations thereof. We should not be teaching anything that focuses on what makes our citizens different. Our focus should be on what makes us all the same: ethics, government, patriotism. Indoctrination and political ideology have no place in our curriculum, especially concerning issues that adults have trouble understanding, such as gender issues. Education begins at home and is an important factor in taught at schools. As such, parents and our children's education. So who knows what's best for our kids? Choosing curricula that reflect the values and beliefs of Beaufort County citizens and constituents is a starting point. I believe adopting the proposed changes to Policy Code 3100 being discussed tonight would go a long way toward increasing the school board's involvement in choosing curricula. It would provide increased opportunity for the public and parents to be involved in the process and gain their insights and buy-in as to what is being taught to their children. Lastly, it would help alleviate the perception held by many that the superintendent and school board do not care what the public thinks, that they neither welcome nor desire public feedback or involvement in the administration of our schools.
Ray Leary, curriculum policy.
My name is Ray Leary. I've been reviewing the curriculum selection process utilized by Beaufort County Schools. In reviewing the last 2 efforts to adopt new curriculums, Savas and Bridges Math, we recognize a disconnect between the Curriculum Selection Committee and the elected school board members. The Curriculum Committee selected by the superintendent is tethered to the administration by their relationship as employees of the school. We recognize that this selection committee is comprised of professional educators which rely upon recommended and approved curricula by the Department of Public Instruction. The DPI and the state school board are far removed from Beaufort County. Their focus is the school districts in Wake, Orange, Guilford, Mecklenburg counties, which are more liberal in their approach to education and social issues. One recommendation to Policy Code 3100 is to form a community media advisory committee or community standards committee, whichever you want to call it, is to involve another set of eyes, perhaps more in tune with Beaufort County norms and standards. Such an advisory committee is recognized under North Carolina General Statute 115C98B1. This would be an advisory committee with no authority to approve or reject the curriculums, committees, or the board's authority to select and implement any curriculum agreed to by the board. Another board policy, 3210, encourages parental involvement with the school system related to educational materials. However, there is limited encouragement for other community members who possess business, church, and social leadership skills to become involved. Development of a media advisory board populated by citizens not associated with the school system could offer objective and subjective perspective of proposed educational curriculum. The committee would be free to share their analysis with the board, unencumbered by the employee-employer relationship. In closing, we have heard from the community, and they would urge the elected board to be more proactive in the curriculum selection processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And last but not least, Ms. Angela Summer, curriculum policy.
Our second speaker basically addressed my concern, so I'll leave my role.
All right, so you don't need to speak. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. We're moving on down the agenda to 5.1. I'm going to ask Cameron Bolts to come forward. Keith, if you need to come up, you can come. It's up
I'll
to you.
take the moral
You'll take the
support
moral
here,
support. Just a little history. Y'all may remember Cameron 4 months ago. Is that right?
Maybe 6 or so, yeah.
Yep, about
Last
6
spring.
months ago, he came with a building that he was gonna work on getting funding for. And we told him, blessed him to go get funding, to go have at it. And I told y'all, look out, he's got a foot on the gas on the Cameron a while. So Cameron's back to give us good news. Go,
All
Cameron.
right, well, first of all, just thank you guys for all the time and energy y'all spend caring for kids in Beaufort County. I don't come to very many of these meetings, but every time I do, I just feel thankful that there's so many adults that are passionate about kids in this county, so thank you. And I also get to bring some great news. So this past legislative session, I was able to work with representatives in Raleigh, and we secured $600,000 for funding for athletic facilities, which is just a great start to that project. Right. And I just a special thanks to the legislators up there who made this a passion for themselves, even though some of them were out of district to make this happen. So I'm really thankful for that. So fun to bring you good news that I'm not going to cost you anything. I'm hopefully bringing some stuff in. But I did want to give you guys just a little update on kind of where we are. So there's a good Abe Lincoln quote that it says, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a cherry tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening my saw. Well, my saw was dull. I'm learning a lot right now, so I might need more than 4 hours to sharpen my axe. But I'm learning a lot. We've had some great meetings. So Keith and Jamie Stokes and I met out at the high school just to kind of start the process of talking through what that might look like out there and what the facilities could look like. And so here's kind of where it stands right now, is that what was initially discussed was trying to build a sports facility that would accommodate as many kids as possible in Beaufort County, that it would provide some really good facilities for kids, and particularly at Washington High School, where there's a gym shared by about 11 sports teams at different times. And so, but as we started to go down that process, I was recommended to talk to DPI and about just kind of what we're talking through. And it was a long and informative conversation about kind of what some of those options are and what might be the most beneficial, and ultimately what's the most cost effective. And so we're still in those conversations right now. Like I said, I want to have a really good plan before we commit to anything, before we spend a dollar, and I want to have all the money in the bank before we do anything. So being early in that right now, that's kind of where we are, is just looking at what makes the most sense for that space out there. And then, so that we can start doing, I and some others can start doing some additional fundraising on that space out there. Is there questions from y'all just in general about it before I have a few questions for the attorney, if that's possible?
Yeah, well, the attorney, they're working on the
Yeah,
Zoom.
that's fine.
They're working on the Zoom for the attorney,
You
so
bet.
he can make sure we get it all right. But go ahead.
It's just a quick question. Is there a deadline where you use the money that?
No, my understanding is no, so it came.
That's unusual. Make sure.
Yeah, so, and I could be wrong on that, but my understanding is that it was earmarked, and one thing that was nice is that they earmarked it for athletics at Washington High School, rather than a specific, so it gives us some flexibility in
Okay,
that.
okay. Yeah, some things are use it or lose it, and I wanted to make sure
No,
that wasn't.
yeah, well, I'm with you, I don't wanna lose it.
Yeah.
Donald,
Stay on it.
Donald's next.
Sir, did you say where that funding was coming from, or did I miss that?
The initial funding or so the initial $600,000 was an appropriation out of the state budget.
Okay.
So
Wow. Good. Okay.
and it did not generate as a request from Beaufort County. It generated as a request from myself, from the county.
Wow,
So that makes
good.
it
Okay.
alleviates some pressure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forgot to say thank you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
And so, Cameron and I have talked, a couple of times, but Cameron is getting ready to kick off, once he gets his rendering finished and done, he's gonna be kicking off a fundraising campaign, to raise and secure the rest of the funding, to be no out-of-pocket expense to the,
Wow.
Beaufort County tax.
Great, Cameron, thank you.
You bet.
Wow.
You bet.
Just as soon as they get, they're working with Zoom, use technology, so.
Yep.
He's gonna find it.
I'll work on it. Put the pressure back.
There it
No,
is.
no, that's fine.
And
All
what
right.
you said about all the different athletics, not just that one gym. Because you have to prioritize seasons, so of course there are five. But we're also in wrestling season, we also have cheerleaders, and we also, I mean, and I know that what has been created is that now these teams have gotten to go to some of our other schools, their gymnasium, and at this time, all kinds of events and festivals, so their gyms are also busy. So what you're doing is like way past being needed, so I'm so thankful.
All right, we got Steve on the horn tonight because, we had some, if you got any questions for Steve, please, make sure, am I right, we gotta speak into the mic? Yeah, so, make sure, 'cause that's the only way Steve can hear us. But, we all had some questions for, or Cameron did, for Steve as we get moving forward, with our attorney. But go ahead, Steve, go ahead, Cameron.
So Steve, are you somewhat up to date on, did you hear the first part of that we've received some funding for some facilities at Washington High School?
The conversation here as we were getting sorted on, but my awareness is that there was about half the funding that's needed was provided by the budget. The other half or so was going to be raised privately. I don't know if that's
Yep.
been raised or has been pledged.
No, we're
and
in the
intent
process of starting that right now.
go
So
ahead,
I
sir.
guess that's, one of my first questions is, if we were to raise the money and donate the building itself, so all the cost for the building itself, do we need to open the bid process? If we use that $600,000 that came in to outfit the interior of the building, to do all the stuff that we need, but do we need to open the bid process for that?
So the bidding issue is going to be based on who's actually building the building. Yeah, as I see it, there's really two paths here. Path one is that the money gets raised and it gets donated to the school system for the purpose of building this facility, and then the school system handles it from there. That's the cleanest way to do it, I think, and that would then follow all of the school's procedures around hiring an architect, design, bidding for the construction, et cetera, and it would go forward through normal construction procedures, just using the donated funds. The second path, which is I think the one that you had just discussed, or at least mentioned there, is that the school system would allow the building of the building using those funds via the private donor, and we'd need to put in place an access agreement with some indemnity around who's going to be on school property, et cetera. And the school system clearly would need some final approval authority on architect, general contractor plans, but it would actually be constructed by the private group and the private donors. In that case, it would not technically have to be bid out if all of that is being handled by the private group. What I would say is the other really important piece in either scenario is that the full amount of the money is secured in an account that the school system's got some control over before we move forward, so that that's always there and we know how that's being managed. Right.
And then, do you see any issues when it comes to the fundraising portion of the additional amount? Do those funds need to come to the school, or could we set up a 501c3 with a stated intent of serving Washington High School, raise the funds into that fund, and then put that money into the projects?
Yeah, so let me be a little bit careful just ethically here as I answer this. I can't give you legal advice on the process outside of what the school system is doing. In terms of how privately because my understanding is the original 600 did not come to the school system, and that the additional money would not be raised by the school system. It would be raised privately and then donated to the school system. Is my understanding was what the intent was, either in monetary form or in building form. But on the issue of the school system's role in that, I would suggest that the money needs to be raised separately, and then make a decision on one of those two paths that I just talked about once that money is in place. But that if the school system is raising the money into a school system account, then we're going to be operating under the school system gifts and bequest procedures, fundraisers, and solicitations on policy, and the school system's going to it's going to take us definitely down path one. On the school system paying for everything, and that's certainly a choice. But my understanding is that the school system was not raising the money.
Right. No, I don't want the pressure on the school system to do that. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as the entity on how you do that, I would have to defer to you on that.
Okay. Great. I guess the one other piece that I just didn't update on is that kind of the plan moving forward is to kind of develop a few subcommittees that kind of a fundraising subcommittee, a design and buildings subcommittee, and just to make sure we're talking to the people that need the most input into that stuff to make sure that it really serves the needs of the school well.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Steve and or Cameron or Mitchell?
Not at this point.
Nope, we're all good. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Is that all you need for tonight?
Yep, all good.
All right. Well, y'all have a fabulous evening.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, Cameron. All right, I'm moving on down the agenda. We got a 5.2 first read of fall policy updates from North Carolina School Board Association. As you will see, it has been rendered through the School Board Association attorneys, and you see them attached. If you have any, Dr. Cheatham.
Yes, just so the audience knows, these are specific policies around counseling programs, operation of school nutrition services, licensure, leave, family medical leave, daily deposits, and several other items. So this is for the board's first read, 30 days, and then we'll bring it back. Our teammates will look at it, tailor it to Beaufort County for your consideration. Thank you.
Anybody got any questions for Dr. Cheeseman?
It's just gonna take a while to look through the.
Yep, take a while. They've already been through the School Board Association.
It's quite a few of them.
All right, 5.3, Board Policy 3100, Board Member Donald Shreve, Curriculum Development
Wow,
Review.
me already? Oh, God.
And you got an attachment, Board. Two attachments, sorry.
Okay, yeah, two attachments. The first one is Policy Code 3100, a proposed revision. The second is reasons to modify. We thought the board may have some questions, so we included that document on the second attachment. I guess I would just like to say that we have some recommended changes to Policy Code 3100 in which we believe would give the board more important involvement with greater representation and success in choosing the best possible curriculums for our schools and students. Currently, the board has limited input in curriculum assessment and adoption. When out in the community, this is one thing we hear over and over again. We would like to see the board more directly involved in choosing our curriculums, our school's curriculums, especially after Savas and Bridges Math. Also, we are hearing citizens wanting to see in our social studies curriculum more teaching and discussions of America's founding fathers, the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and also included suggestions of instruction to ensure cursive writing and memorization of multiplication tables. We would like to ask my fellow board members to further study the proposed revisions and certainly ask any questions and hopefully come back on December 12 for discussion and hopefully vote on any or all of these proposed policies up or down. Thank you.
All right, anybody got any questions for Don? Go ahead, Gary.
Just have a comment to make, especially with the social studies curriculum, came to a sudden end that was, we just realized that we've got an obligation as a board to get that project complete, get it restarted in some form or fashion, hopefully with the increased participation of community members to do some review of this. But we have an obligation, the board does especially, to get this project completed. Get it started again, get it completed. The first attempt at it ran into some snags and ran into some issues with social media presence of the vendor and different things like that. And we hope that the public participation in that will go ahead and vet that before it just gets to a decision point. So we have an obligation to get this job finished, and we should move forward with this.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I also agree with that. It seems to me that it's better to look at this situation about bringing the public and parents in early rather than waiting for a backlash later, and that which may or may not come. Our experience with the Savas curriculum is a situation where it did come, and it came with about 150 people coming, and news cameras and all that. And I think maybe we could avoid that if we brought the public in earlier.
All right, I kind of agree. So, how,
Do you?
go ahead. You want to go first?
No, I don't have a comment on the policy at present. Do you realize the step we've missed here?
Which one? Not going to the lawyer?
Yeah, this can't be a first read because we haven't had it vetted for compliance yet by our attorneys.
Yeah.
You got to first send these policy changes through the ones, well, you just mentioned it in the last agenda item.
Agenda item, yeah.
That they had been already, compliance had been checked through the state. Any change that we make ourselves, you still have to send it back.
To the
and
pol-
in our
to the
case,
attorney.
to our attorney. And then he'll put it in a final form of where we are compliant, and then it'll come for first read. And so right now, you're missing that step. I mean,
are you
I'm
good-
not
are
saying
you
I have
good
a
with
problem
that?
with any of it.
If
I'm
that's
just saying
what-
you
if
haven't
that's
done
what
that
our
yet.
requirements are, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
we-
all I'm saying. I'm not
all
taking it
of our
apart. I'm
policies-
just saying you haven't done that yet.
I don't have a problem with it either, but I just want to make sure we run it by our board attorney,
You
to
got-
make sure that we're
yeah.
compliance of all of our stuff.
You got to do that.
Yeah, we got to do that.
You have no choice but to do that.
So, under, or is it the board's nod that we're good with sending it to the attorney for
Absolutely.
compliance, Dr. Cheeseman?
He-
That's right.
He's
That's what
waiting
we're
for
paying for.
something to be sent, isn't he, Mary?
I don't wanna pay him later, I'd rather pay him on the front end.
And if he sees something here that's not in the way it should be worded, then
Yeah.
he'll take care of that.
How about
And then he'll send
get,
it to
if
us.
he sees something, get him to, give the statute and what the reasoning is, if you don't mind. If it's not something that's out of line. Is that fair? That way he's got,
And
he's
to-
got
to-
explanations.
And two, TW, I know that a lot of what we're asking for is already in statute 115C 90-98.
That's right. So, Dr. Cheeseman will send that over, and that way, and we'll get explanations if there's, anything from the attorney, so
Well-
he'll have explanation of the change.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That works out pretty well, so that
Yeah.
way we'll have it all done.
And the
Yes, sir.
wording, I was trying to find it on here real quick. And the wording that he would put it in, because there was, I think it's on the, question and answer.
So,
Yeah, because there's some wording on there that I'll be highly surprised if it gets past him.
Yeah.
This is gonna bounce, so just be prepared that you don't get this approved in December. I'm not holding it up, and I'm certainly not an attorney, but I'm saying I've dealt with them enough on policies that if the wording on that particular item I'm looking at gets through, it'll never get through.
so, Terry, so.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, so you're
ahead.
saying that.
You're good.
That we would send the proposed draft to our attorney, is that what you're saying?
The two attachment that gets to that's on our board docs would go to the attorney.
Both attachments?
That would go to the
Yeah,
attorney
yeah,
tomorrow
good.
morning.
Okay.
They would
yeah.
go to the attorney tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and then the
first
second attachment is just what we thought, maybe
Yeah.
even him, maybe
Yeah, he may
even
not
the
even
attorney
need to do
thought,
that.
well, maybe to ask the question, we tried to answer the question.
He won't even look at that.
Yeah, he won't.
Just the first one's all
That's
you
the
need to
first
send.
one, all he needs to send. So Dr. Cheeseman will take care of that first thing in the
Okay,
morning.
thank you.
So,
Yeah.
and then he will ask for, reasons of the change as we do it.
Okay.
Cause I'm not a legal guy either, so if
I'm not
if we know the reason he changed it that in the, policy of why.
Max said
So-
it best, that's why we pay him. Keep us
Anybody
out-
got any
keep
more
us out of
questions
trouble.
for 5.3?
No, just let them look over it.
Yep, let them look over it. 5.4, safety and security, weapon security detection system, Dr. Cheeseman.
So this is an update to an ongoing conversation that you as the board have had, I'd say for the last year, regarding just the safety and security of our campuses in light of what's been going on in the world. So I have prepared information to share with you tonight about possible acquisition of weapon detection systems for our schools. Other people may know it as metal detectors, but these actually detect a little bit more than metal. So I'm going to ask, with your pleasure, to table this until you come into closed session where Sheriff Hammonds is here tonight. We had a great conversation today. I think he would say the same thing, as 9 of our teammates, including myself, actually 10 of us, met with the sheriff and his team today. So right now, considering, I would ask that you table this until you have a safety and security update from your sheriff, and then provide guidance coming out of that to create action on this item.
Yeah, and we don't need a motion because there's kind of no action.
It's a no action item.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
All right. All right, 6.1, needs-based school grant. You have 3 attachments that have been attached. This is an action item tonight. This will go back to December the
12th.
12th.
We'll come back to you December 12th.
But it will go to the county commissioners on the.
All right, so with the needs-based school grant, as you look through your attachments, looking at the application so people in the audience know, the application specifically is due January 5th. And because of the way the holiday Christmas timeline works, we need to backtrack a little bit in terms of how we plan the action of it. So all of you have access to the application. If you go to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, specifically look for needs-based public school capital fund grants, The information was posted on November 13th, so it gives you just under 2 months to complete it. But when looking specifically at the criteria, you as a board are looking at a pre-K through 3 elementary school, which therefore you would qualify for up to $42 million. So based on the new state budget, some of those numbers changed, so that's a good thing. It used to be 30 million for elementary, now it's up to 42. But if you look at page 4, under your program criteria, so the public understands, they give priority to districts who are typically tier 1 areas, which you have been. They also give priority to critical deficiencies, meaning how are you actually serving the current and future student population. They give you priority to facility construction, meaning they love to have new construction or complete renovation of existing facilities. And so this will be a new project. Also, facility replacement, they give priority to any district that's trying to consolidate 2 schools into 1 or 2 or more schools into 1, which we would be doing with Eastern Elementary and John Cotton Taylor. And then, of course, the applicant or application status, they give priority to counties such as Beaufort County, who has not actually applied in the past and or been awarded in the past 3 years. And so if you turn to page 5 of your document, the application is a joint application. It's not solely Beaufort County Board of Education. This would be a joint application between your Beaufort County Commissioners and your Beaufort County Board of Education. And that's required in order to submit. So on page 5 of the application, you see the contact information would be the county manager, Mr. Allagood. The contact information for the school unit would be myself as superintendent. And this is a very simple process. If you look down below on page 5, that you're really only submitting 6 items. And that is why this application seems so thin, is that DPI prefers that it's very thin. So if you turn to page 6, I've given it a project title. This is not a school name. You have not decided on this yet, but it's just for all of us to have a reference point as Washington Elementary. It tells you the location of it and that it's an elementary school. Where it may be located, which is the current property of Eastern Elementary, and behind the school where it is. The type of facility is a consolidated comprehensive public school for pre-K through 3. And then, of course, the short description. And in the description, I tried to lay out the fact that we've already had some advanced work on this. You as the board have approved us to do such work, where Terracon Geotechnical Services came in with Jamie Stokes as your Director of Maintenance overseeing that, and they've already investigated the land and gave you thumbs up. Also, that Height Associates was already selected by you as a board. And also down under a different page, you'll see that I also listed Michael Miller from Numerix, who came in and did a student population study. So in the critical need area, we talk specifically about serving 900 to 1,000 students in pre-K through grade 3. The project will consolidate Eastern Elementary School, built in 1967, and John Cotton Taylor Elementary School, built in 1961, into one facility, which would strengthen the academic program for early learning by eliminating a school transition between grade levels 1 and 2. The existing schools are 56 plus years old, including an outdated outdoor building pod design at Eastern Elementary School. Therefore, the new school would strengthen the safety and security for students, employees, and the community, as well as increase the integrity of the learning environment and academic program. The other part of that, with pre-K through 3, it aligns you to the accountability model. So if you turn to page 7, and I'm actually very excited to tell you, the initial answer of no has been changed to yes. Was this project identified in the 5-year plan and 2020-2021 facility needs survey? As you may recall, former Chief Operations Officer Dr. Marvin Bradley helped us with that survey. And we actually did include a potential consolidation, and that was when the board was initially considering moving JCT into Eastern, but learned that the population size was too much. But in the actual survey that was approved by your county commissioners and approved by the state, it is marked that you did in fact try to look at change. So that actually scores you well in that category, so we marked yes, and I made that adjustment there. Under the next line down, will this project replace existing facilities as stated? How many students are served as stated? Also, advanced planning, yes. Those are the 3 that we've already talked about. Have construction documents been completed for this project? The answer is no, and that's okay. Meaning that DPI doesn't expect you to actually have construction documents completed yet for a project that you've not been awarded yet. Anticipated or actual bid date based on Mr. Height from Height Associates, his recommendation would be July 1, 2024. Planned start date of construction would be August 1 of 2024, meaning that this would move quickly after you were awarded. And the planned completion date of construction would be August 1st, 2026. And so if you notice the asterisk, construction must begin within 24 months of the grant. Page 8. So here's where I'm asking you for your approval to bring the financial statement and the application to the county commissioners on December 4th at their next meeting. And if you notice on the left-hand side, you're asking for $42 million from the state of North Carolina in the needs-based public school capital funds, and you would ask for $10 million from your local county commissioners. But if you notice at the very bottom, that is approximately 19.23% of the total estimated cost of the project. But down bottom, it's not a one-time, all of a sudden deal. It's actually broken out over 3 years. So we're asking the county to contribute $1 million in year 1, $4.5 million in year 2, and $4.5 million in year 3, should they award that to us. And then the total comes to about $52 million, which is in line with what Height Associates' initial estimate in the contract that they provided to you. If you turn to page 9, this is just information provided to you for the board's consideration around additional documentation that you could actually provide. So the renderings that you actually see in your other documents that are attached has been provided by Height. These are not true architecture plans, it's just the rendering right now. DPI really appreciates, and the state board really appreciates, that when a Board of Education already has an architect selected and your financial package already secured, then that's a win-win for them, so it keeps our fingers crossed, still no guarantees. And then the final page of page 10, and I'm not asking you to sign this application tonight, I'm asking you to simply for your approval for me to bring it to the county commissioners. You would certify that the information is correct and complete. You would also follow suit to the Article 38B of the General Statute 115C-546 about requirements of local funding. You would certify the fact that all the grant proceeds and required local matching funds are used for construction in this application, not for like purchases of buses or purchases of other things not related to a new school. You would certify that you would work cooperatively with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and by each year of April 1st, you would provide an update in terms of what the progress looks like. And then, of course, you'd follow all applicable federal and state laws, generally accepted fiscal control, and all needs-based public school capital fund proceeds are subject to forfeiture provisions should you not follow the requirements. And so, in its entirety, should you have questions, I can answer those for you or do my best. But I'm asking for your blessing and your approval for me to submit this to County Manager Brian Alligood tomorrow morning, no later than 9 a.m., to be put onto the County Commissioners' docket for Monday night, December 4th, seeking their approval of $10 million contribution.
Donald? This $52 million, is this going to fluctuate?
I would assume based on construction costs,
That's what I'm asking.
there may actually be some built-in consideration about inflation. But if I remember correctly, in Mr. Height's initial submission of the estimate to the final submission, it's come down
$1.5
about
million.
$1.5 million.
Yeah, about 1.5.
So essentially, it's a good time to build it, is what he's saying.
So if anything, I anticipate it'd be less than what we're
Yeah.
talking.
And this 52 million has the demolition of Eastern in the
Right.
52 million
Yes.
price.
And how that works, just in case anyone has questions around that.
Did you get that?
Is the school will be constructed behind Eastern Elementary School, and then as the school year would end in June of 2026, the Eastern Elementary School will be demolished in order for the landscape to be cleared and the access roads to be put in to be ready for the start of school for August.
Ms. Walker?
unless somebody has any questions, we can't go any further without it being submitted to the commissioner. So I move approval that we allow Dr. Cheeseman to address it to the commissioners on Monday night.
I got a motion and a second? Ms. Booth got the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Do you need some support or you good?
Any of you are welcome to attend with me.
Do you know when you're on, or?
I don't.
Okay, let us know.
I'll know that
Okay.
probably
If
Monday
they,
morning.
if they tell you, let us know, and maybe we can show up as
Oh,
support.
absolutely.
All right. We're moving on to 6.2, District Low Performing Plan. It's been on our website now going on
A month.
a month. So it's time for approval. Dr. Cheeseman.
Yeah, so I'm asking the board to approve this as presented. There was no public comment seeking changes to this. And as explained to you already, this is a continuation of the low-performing plan that we had last year. Very excited. In total, 9 of our 12 schools increased in their school performance score, but specifically in the low-performing schools, all of them increased except for 1. So we've made just minor changes to this based off of input from administrators, teachers, and district personnel, but I'm asking you to approve it as presented.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And I want to make sure the principals and the APs that are out there to carry it back, that your presentations and your discussions on how you are going to tackle your scores and raise them were very impressive. And I know there was a tremendous amount of work that went into preparing that. And I for one, appreciate it very, very much.
And just so the board knows, the deadline date to submit this is December 5th, so your head of schedule will submit tomorrow.
Awesome. Great. I like to be ahead of schedule. 6.3, moving on down. 2023-24 calendar, you got an attachment. Mr. Doan.
Yes, sir. We would like to request that December 15th, which was on the traditional calendar, a regular school day, be changed to an early release day for students, and the afternoon would be professional development for staff. But since it is the day before the holiday break, our staff and students and parents really like to go home half a day on the day before
May the
Christmas.
calendar gods bless you. Move approval.
Can you repeat that?
Sure, we would change December 15th from a traditional school day to a half day for students. Staff would have the afternoon for PD.
Thank you.
Got a motion and a second over there, Ms. Walker, motion, and Mac second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 6.4, we're moving. Class size waiver request, Mr. Dunn.
Yes, sir. So as the board is aware, the state of North Carolina has class size limits on classrooms in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. At Snowden Elementary School, all of our class sizes were within the margin of error for class sizes until the actual last day before the state counts. And Dr. Horton, good news, received a new student. Bad news, put us over by 1 student in third grade. So that classroom now has 21 students instead of 20. So we're requesting a waiver from the state so that instead of trying to hire a second, third grade teacher at this point in the year, which we don't deem very possible, that we allow 21 students to be in the room with the third grade teacher who's already certified and doing a great job. And so I would need the board's approval to request this waiver.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, Mr. Williams.
It's my turn already.
Yes, your turn.
Move approval, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statutes 143-318 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files under General Statutes 115-321 and to formulate plans to protect public safety regarding existing or potential terrorist activity.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, well, first, thank you for taking the time to listen to me tonight. My name is Kayla Jordan. I am a senior from Washington High School. This is my mom, Rebecca Williamson, and my stepdad, Anderson Williamson. And I sent out a letter to the school board members as well as the superintendent and my principal about almost 2 weeks ago regarding the safety of our school because we had an incident with a gun on campus. And I usually don't speak out like this. It's not who I am. I am very shy, reserved, quiet, especially in the school building. But growing up in a house where my dad is a police officer, my parents work in the hospital where they see some very crazy things, I just felt like our schools, they were getting more unsafe. It was like the things I was going home to tell my parents about what happened is what I heard growing up most of my life. And, sorry, I'm a little nervous. It kind of scared me a little bit. Because for one, I think the communication that day to the students as well as the faculty, not the best approach, I don't think, because I didn't hear about this until the next day sitting in my civics class. And I heard about it through WITN, which did report the incident wrong. And, which, when I read it and it was wrong and I had not been told anything else, whew, was I a little hot. Knowing that this is my last year, I don't want to have to go to school every day worrying about, is this gonna be it? Am I gonna go into a lockdown? Because I'm 17, I shouldn't have to worry about that. Now, if I go out into a public setting, going into a mall, going anywhere that does not have security, yes, I can fear for my life a little bit because that's my own willing. It is mandated by law that I have to go to school. So I think it should be mandated by law that we should have higher up security presence as well as Dr. Cheeseman wants, metal detectors. And I think that we need to have a better security presence in our schools. Yes, we have SROs, the Allied Universal Police, but before I ever contacted Dr. Cheeseman, we only had one SRO in our building. And we have a school of over 800 students. And through passing time, every 800 student or close to it is walking in those hallways, where when WITN released it, said that was where the gun was found. So, I mean, imagine just walking down a hallway, a student just pulls in his book bag and just starts shooting. I mean, that kind of scared me a little bit too. And especially since when they found the gun was when I come into the school building, because I'm a senior, and I take college classes, so I only have one class throughout the whole entire school day, which is my third period. And they found the gun, they reported at 11:30 a.m., the bell rings at 11:28, so I'm walking right through that little west hallway at 11:30. So knowing that I could have, seen the gun, been shot, anything, which the way they reported it kind of scared me too. So I think the media presence when it comes to any incidents needs to be taken a little bit differently. I know that it was falsely reported because of WITN heard it from somewhere else. That's how they reported it. And so I think there needs to be a little bit better of a talk with whoever is sending out these reports as well, because when I'm a 17-year-old and I have to go tell my mama that a gun was found, yeah, that did not go over well. She was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Yeah, a gun, just right there in the hallway." And I don't think this would have bothered me as much if we would have had a lockdown or at least been notified during the school day. Because after I go home and then I hear about it the next day sitting in school, I'm just like, where was the communication at all? I sat there throughout the whole school day while a kid was being searched who had a gun in the office, and not a single one of us was told. Now, yes, I know there are maturity levels in our school and some kids would take it completely differently, but I mean, they said that they got the full story from the kid in the office, that there was no other threat to the school, which, yes, I can believe that now, but at the time when I hear that, how do we know that the kid was telling the truth? How do we know that there wasn't other people who were planning on coming in? How do we know he wasn't a distraction from literally anything else that could have happened that day. I think a modified lockdown should have taken place. I think doors should have been locked, and I think we should have had increased security, not been told maybe to the students, because, you know, there could have been more students inside the school who could have been a part of it. But I think for future purposes, if something else like that happened, we should have had a modified lockdown. I think that should be put into our policy, that even though there wasn't no immediate threat, there was still a threat, and that the doors should have been locked. Yes, we should have had the sheriff's office in at least surrounding the school, and that there should have been more of a presence to keep us safe, because we're the next generation. And if we keep having all these shootings, I mean, they're taking place everywhere now. Churches, I mean, that's insane to me. But schools where kids are literally forced to go. And as I was, you know, notified, some of our, like the demographics, there's more kids graduating than there are kids coming into kindergarten, right? Some of that could be from kids being homeschooled, and that's because these parents, they don't feel safe with their kids coming to school anymore, and it's simply because of that. I mean, it was in Virginia, was it Virginia? It was somewhere where a literal kindergarten shot the teacher in the arm. Yeah. Kindergarten. That is insane to me. Literally insane. Because how does a kindergarten literally have even access to a gun? That definitely was on the parents. But the schools, they need to start having this increased security presence. Because if you go to Raleigh and you walk into a school, there's metal detectors and there's literal security all around. And that's because Raleigh is such a big area, which they have a higher crime rate because they have more of a population. But if you look at the crime rate in Washington and Beaufort County, it is a high crime rate for such a small county, if you really think about it. And you don't even have to know the crime rate just to know that there's been instances where they found drugs on campus. Kids have overdosed at Washington High School. Knives, pocket knives, even at that. And yes, I know we live in the country. Kids are going to walk around with pocket knives. You know, that's just what they do. But it's still not right to have. Because if you're walking 60, 70 kids in a hallway and a kid's got a pocket knife and he decides he don't like that person in front of him, all he's got to do is right there in the hallway and keep walking. Who's going to know they did it? I mean, when you're walking at such a closed capacity like that, anything could happen at any moment because it's just so tight-knit, right? So I feel like if we implemented the metal detectors and we implemented more security where the security was actually, I'm not saying that they don't do their job, but I'm saying that they don't do the job that they should do all the time because they just stand there. And I know that standing there, you know, they're watching over, whatever. But, I mean, half of the time we have these kids who just bunch up in the hallways, right there by the doors. And I just see the SRO standing there. I can't get down the hallway to class on time. I can't. It's impossible, and then I get said I'm tardy. But if you're standing there in a group, I'm sorry, but what are you doing that could possibly be useful from that? I mean, it's just, I think that the SROs, they need to start doing their job more. And I think that trying to be respectful when I say this, as a school board, there needs to be more thought on the actual students in the campus when it comes to the safety. Yes, I know curriculum is what gets you through school, but you can't have the curriculum if you don't have the students that learn the curriculum. And you have to have the safety in there with that because, I mean, when we had that incident last year with there being a bomb threat or whatever, or a gun threat last December, I really considered being homeschooled. I was like, you know what? I don't need to finish my senior year at the school. I can just be homeschooled because I ain't doing that. I have big plans for my life. I am not trying to go into school and not walk back out the next day. I mean, it's stuff like that just makes you really think, is it worth going? Is it worth going for those 7 hours a day to worry about my life? Mm-mm. I feel like now, as a student who drives, I feel like I have about the same amount of, is a car wreck gonna kill me on the way to school, or is a kid with the gun gonna kill me on the way to school? I mean, it's like, now I start worrying about it as much as I worry about, am I gonna get in a car wreck on the way to school? I mean, it's just as simple as that. And I know it's really harsh, especially coming from such a young person, but I think that is such a big, prominent problem now that us as a community, as well as the school board and the Board of Education, they need to start, how do I say this? they need to start taking more of a look into the security and safety, just as much as they take a look into the curriculum being taught in our schools. Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. Mhm.
So I can, they are at that age.
Mhm. Go somewhere for political science and then go somewhere for law school.
For her, I think, well, right here a couple of times, and we met with myself and Superintendent. Dr. Cheeseman's meeting with me and for each of y'all's conversations. Working together to get it back in the schools if that's to put our community, representing our community. Miss Jordan's story, and it's all about not to be hired to come in and be a role, but to come in and be a role. We are that source to accomplish that. Myself, .9% of the conversations to find the day-to-day operations of how to make the school. And things that we need to possibly insert into training students to and many other ones in a position to report such a crime if she would have seen it. So getting that type of training into it. Involved in the next phase of getting us in there. What I've done since what I've done with from our last meeting, I put in for discussion of 12 to recruit into. And then we'll see, working together, how we can hopefully convince a budget that we can get together to but I'm still offering you the best I got. To bring either existing university around in areas to, you know, I hate to say it, but hopefully make the attraction worthwhile for them to I spoke. Yeah. No, I think there is a pool. Qualified pool in that with Universal Allied. I ride out there to schools and talk to I look at them, I say, are we a agency or office? I hope this is a discussion point to say I'm ready to go. Is I campaign on working with want you to know that there is, and there's gonna be the devil in the, you have that option. You have,
So
Yeah.
we need to talk about the agenda and the timeline for that day, as Ms. Apple and Ms. Duke have done an amazing job of trying to track down meal opportunities so we can all break bread together. And it's been the challenge. So unfortunately, we don't think we'll be able to do the meal after the meeting, just based on time. So we're asking if the board would consider coming in at 4:15 on December 12th to open the meeting, immediately go to closed session, have a meal together during closed session, right here, to have a meal together during closed session as you're completing your closed session. So once you get through the personnel stuff, and then come out of closed session at 5:30. Do you think that'd be an ample amount of time?
Hang on just a second, let me add that right quick.
Finish your meeting and then be done for the night.
Do our spouses come to that or no? Because the reason I asked is because Carolyn was saying, I think they did that in the past somewhere else.
What was your thought, again, one more time, I'm sorry, putting it on my calendar.
So because we have not been able to secure basically catering for later in the evening, we're asking to start the meeting at 4:15, immediately go into closed session, do closed session business such as personnel or any security updates, and eat together, break bread together, because the food will be hot and delivered. And then by 5:30, having finished your meal, come into open session, finish the meeting, call it a day.
Mr. Draper won't be here.
On the 12th?
No, he just said he wouldn't be here.
I'm out of town, unfortunately.
That's, you know,
Parts came in.
we can skip the
I
dinner.
had to book a flight, so I'll be in Orange, Texas.
We can skip the dinner if you want, it's up to y'all.
Would it matter if we just did it later date? Since
Yeah.
he could be back?
Yeah, we could do
Because
it.
I
Yeah.
mean,
We could do
I
it.
mentioned it last meeting. so-
I know, yeah.
Loud and
Let's
clear,
do,
right? But that's okay.
Miss
In my
Apple,
absence, please.
Miss Apple, is it gonna bother you if we do it at a later date?
It's not gonna be shrimp and oysters,
Right.
Terry. It's
Pardon?
not gonna be shrimp and oysters.
But I'd rather wait till Terry's back.
Well, see, I'd
Yeah.
rather have
It's his
shrimp and
idea.
oysters
I
myself.
know.
Because I can get somebody in to cook shrimp and oysters, guys.
Then I'd say I'll make that motion.
Let me talk to Randy Jackson. He works back there in the shop.
So we're at 5:30 on the 12th now. Everybody good?
Okay,
Let's just
regular
do that.
time. Okay.
And you're gonna entertain trying to figure out another night, or not at all? Where are we?
Or not at all.
Another night or not at all?
A New Year's
Talk about
dinner?
it at the meeting, next meeting,
So,
when he's back.
I won't be back in December.
No, that's it. So,
I'm sorry, guys. I was waiting on parts and they finally came in.
Hey, in these days world, if you get parts, you
That's
better
right.
take them.
I've been waiting months for 'em.
So,
All right, the other quick thing is this Saturday, lots of events in Washington over the weekend. But one of those events is the Interbanks STEM Center Dinner Dance. I know several of you have been to it in the past. I'm a part of that Interbanks STEM board along with Dave Loop and Al Powell and so many others. But with that, I have 4 tickets for board members if you would like to go. You and your spouse could go, 4 individuals could go, 2 people could go with their spouses, whatever you'd like to do. But it is 6 o'clock to 10:30. This is you can come in and go out, but it's a really awesome opportunity where Al Powell does a nice job of highlighting the donors to the program, highlighting our students, highlighting some of our educators, highlighting the community for all the great things they've done for kids.
Where is it?
It is at the Washington Civic Center. This is main floor seating, table 3 up front, I believe.
I have a function I have to attend for the town of Bellhaven on Saturday.
Friday morning, did everybody get contacted about Bright Futures breakfast?
Yeah.
I'm leaving to go out of town tomorrow, I
That's
gotta
at
be in
8:15, I
Pinehurst.
believe.
It's 8 to 9:15.
Yep.
8 to
Right.
9:15, okay.
Right on at the Civic Center.
Yeah, I'm at Pinehurst the rest of the week for work, then I gotta be gone at 6 in the morning.
And what's that date,
Saturday,
This is Saturday night,
December 2nd.
6
12
to
o'clock tomorrow.
10:30.
Dozen other things.
Do you and Ed like to go?
Crime Stoppers
Yeah,
Ball.
I'll take you.
Anybody else? Takers.
When is the county commission meeting?
Monday.
December 4th, and once I see the agenda, I'll let.
5:30?
What time? I think they start at 5. What time do they start? I think it's 5.
What time does that start?
We gotta go to the Representative Kidwell's.
Are you going to his house this year?
I am gonna break down and go. I don't want to.
See, I was going and then this afternoon late, something came up that is. Chair, I got it later.
All right, buddy, thanks. We're getting ready to close out here. Yeah, I understand. I understand. I get it. Same time.
I'm really late.
Gary, I'll let you know what time we're on the agenda, because if we're on the back end of that agenda, you might not want to sit there for 2 hours.
I got it. I got it later.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to, I don't have anything major on the schedule.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Oh,